Welcome to the Business as Mission podcast, dedicated to those who long to see God glorified in business and the nations reached for Christ. Your host is Mike Bayer, longtime BAM leader and founder of Third Path Initiative, an online education resource for starting and growing BAM businesses around the world.
Welcome to another episode of the Business as Mission podcast, and I'm here with a new friend who I think will become a long-term friend. His name is Mike Turner. He'll tell you his story. He's currently with Serve Hope International, which is a mission agency that is based in Houston, but focused primarily on Latin America. Mike has a unique niche within that, and that's a niche in and of itself, but he has a unique niche. He told me his title is Director of Coffee. And I said, I want to be you when I grow up. I love the title, but he'll tell you more what it means. But they're using coffee, the coffee industry, but other things too. A neat technology he'll share with you to impact church planting and local discipleship making in various countries in the Latin area and really beyond. So first of all, Mike, welcome to the show. Really glad to have you on here.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for having me. It's a real honor and just so excited to talk with you about all that God's doing with us and through us.
No, I have to tell the audience. So Mike and I met last week, and first of all, we were introduced by Jenny Nuccio. For many of our listeners, that's a familiar name. And the introduction came in very short, typical Jenny. Mike, meet Mike. And so we did meet, and we met last week, and he shared the story with me, and I was absolutely fascinated. It's a fun story. He's a fun guy. So Mike, let's just start, I won't say at the beginning, but your background, your history before working with Serve Hope International is in media, videography and audiography and other things. So tell us a little bit about that, and then the journey from that to where you are today. How did God lead you in that?
So I just turned 44, and I am a couple of years into my third career. Like we talked about before, at my first career, I was in live sound. I did sound, lights, and video design work for large churches all around the country. Was in that for several years. I fell in love with a photographer, and then I fell in love with photography, and we quit our jobs.
So let's go back. Hold on. I want to put a pin in this. So you fell in love with a photographer. Is she the current Mrs. Turner?
Yes, she is. Yeah, we just.
Because, I don't want this podcast to get anybody in trouble.
No, she is Mrs. Turner. We just celebrated 17 years of marriage. We have 3 kids. Photography and video have been an incredible journey for my wife and I. It's been a wonderful blessing to work together for many years. I quit my job. I quit my sound guy job in 2008 to go full time with my wife in photography. And for 12 years, almost to the month, for 12 years, we were full-time, self-employed, doing photography and video. In that time, we did projects for all kinds of different organizations. And in that same time frame, I first got introduced to the concepts around BAM, primarily through the Perspectives course. I think was really the first time that I heard the term business as mission or was introduced to that concept of like you talk about the third path, not something that's exclusively church or exclusively nonprofit, but it's still intentionally missional. So that happened somewhere in the middle of those years of full-time photography. And, it struck a chord. For many years, I was looking for a way to become more involved with missions vocationally. And I assumed that it would be primarily through photography and video because that's what I was doing. And I still have the most professional experience in that realm. And then if we fast forward a little bit, in 2020, I joined Serve Hope International. And when I came into the organization, I knew I would be the only staff member living in America. And I anticipated that I would be wearing a lot of hats, being the only one north of Guatemala. And that was true. I was and still do wear a lot of different hats. But as I moved into Serve Hope and we settled in, I realized that Serve Hope already had amazing creatives in country, fantastic photographers and graphic designers and great video options. And they didn't really need me to be clicking the shutter button or editing videos every day. But they had this vision to have a world-class high-end coffee brand that would fund their water filter ministry. And they'd had that vision for a long time and been unable to get it off the ground. They asked me to make it a reality. Day one, that was on my list coming into Serve Hope. And it was a much deeper and more complex project than any of us really anticipated. And by the time we got to the point where we had coffee for sale, that coffee had basically taken over my entire job with Serve Hope.
So it was on the list. Now it is the list.
Yes, exactly.
Understand. So let's camp for a minute on this water filter thing, because you and I were talking about this last week, and there are a lot of works around the world that are trying to take on the issue of pure water. We all agree that, statistically, the numbers tell us that the single largest cause of unhealthy childhood death is bad water. And this is true globally. This is all, literally every continent, with the exception of, I guess, Antarctica, has this issue. So it makes total sense to attack it. But you guys have something unique. So this is not just a water filtration system or a machine or, finding ways to produce potable water, but you guys have you shared it with me and you showed it to me on video. Tell us about, because this really, apart from even the coffee, this struck me as, wow, what a phenomenal opportunity for the world.
Absolutely. The water filter itself is incredible. Each of the water filters that we give to families in Central America can cleanse 1 million gallons of water, which is an astronomical amount. This water filter is very specifically designed to filter out disease and parasites in third world context.
By the way, just a quick note to our listeners, I will have it in the show notes. The website for Serve Hope International is just that, servehope.international. And you can go there and see this filter. The techies are going to want to know all the details, all of that, because you showed it to me in person, or at least we were on screen together. And that's an amazing piece. It's so little. It does so much. It does it so well. One question about the filter, and then let's go to the coffee piece, because you are the director of coffee, not the director of water filters. So what is the cost of one of these filters that you're distributing, at no charge to the local people? It's a means of serving them, loving them, addressing a need, opening doors. But what's just the unit cost of something like that?
Our coffee funds the water filters. It's $50 per filter to fund the water filter for the family.
Let's camp on that just a minute, Mike. So yeah, we could donate directly to Serve Hope International. $50-ish provides a filter, right? I mean, that's one way of doing it. And if somebody said, hey, I want to buy 100 filters, they could do the math and send you a check to that, and it would go directly to the filters. But you guys have really taken an opportunity in Central America, some of the greatest coffee growing regions in the world, just by selling a product of that region, a portion. We don't have to know the exact numbers as a customer, but just knowing that when we buy your coffee, then we know we're not just getting great coffee, but we're also funding these water filters. I mean, it's a great business mission and application. I guess the question it comes down to, we could pay directly for the filters, but as a coffee customer, we know we're very aware that a portion of what we spend on the coffee is going to provide these filters. But in addition to really good coffee, and that's kind of me, the buy it line. Don't buy it just to get a filter. Buy it because it's a good product. But there's blessing in that, in the way that you're running it. So talk to us a little bit about that piece of it, Mike. What one friend of mine calls coffee as mission. What does the director of coffee think of when he wakes up in the morning, and what is it that you're actually seeing and managing and building?
So we got into this to fund the water filters, and that is our number one goal and our number one mission, and always will be. But everything that we learned in the process of sourcing our coffee, meeting our coffee growers, getting our coffee to market, it showed us that we also have a very important mission just in the world of coffee. The way that we source our coffee, we say that we use a direct trade coffee model. We work directly with our growers. Just the week before last, I was in Honduras and Guatemala. I met with all of my growers while I was down there, checking in on them. I brought them some fresh coffee. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to make sure that I bring them some of their coffee when I come down to see them, right? The coffee gets roasted in the US. They spend months growing and harvesting the absolute best coffee that they can, and then they export it to the US and they never see it again. So I make it a point to bring them the finished product so they can see it and feel it, and of course they can taste it. This trip, I actually
that must be really special.
Yes, it is. This past trip, I actually got to make pour-overs for one of my growers. I brought her the coffee that she had grown. We had a long meeting, and during the meeting, I made V60 pour-overs for her and I to share the coffee that she and her team had grown. Just a beautiful thing. Our direct trade model is critically important, both to the quality of the coffee and to the producer and their ability to earn a sustainable wage from their price for their business to continue to be profitable. Most coffee in the world is bought and sold under the commercial coffee price. The price for commercial coffee is controlled by the stock market. Coffee is a commodity traded on the stock market, and that commodity price drives the pricing that is offered to most producers around the world. For the producers that I work with in Central America, the commodity coffee price is actually below their operating costs. They would lose money selling at that price. There's no way for them to make a living doing that. So for producers, getting around that commodity price and being able to sell directly to a roaster represents a path forward for them with sustainability, but also it enables them to actually do the caliber of work that they're capable of doing. I've met dozens of producers in Central America, and I can tell you, without fail, they are incredibly passionate about the caliber of their coffee. They yearn to cultivate and harvest the absolute best product that they can. And it's a very laborious process. And they simply can't do the caliber of work that they want to do or that we want to drink at the commodity price. There's not, that price does not support the labor required to harvest a truly delicious cup of coffee.
We'll pause here for a short message. Do you know the steps to take if you want to launch a BAM business? That's what the Tri-Venture Path to Capital program is all about. The path begins with 4 key courses you can take online. Learn the biblical foundation for business as mission, how to create a BAM lean canvas, and how to establish a BAM strategy. From there, you will be coached in the fine points of starting your business and how to prepare a pitch for investors. And finally, when you're ready, we'll set up an actual pitch to real investors with a real heart for BAM. Learn more on the Third Path Initiative website, thirdpathinitiative.com.
I just wonder if the commodity price is below the cost of production. How do these people even live, number one? How often are they, and I'll use this word, I mean it when I say it, are they forced to sell substandard product just to stay afloat, and probably don't have a lot of pride in that? They know coffee, they know what they're doing, and they're not feeling great about it. So there's that. And then, so one other question, and I'm going to sit back and we'll listen, see if you can help us. Then you've got the virtue signaling of fair trade coffee, which is not direct trade coffee, which is what you're doing. So walk through those as you want to. Walk through those points.
And there's a lot there. One thing that's important to remember, we can't think of coffee producers as one monolithic group. There are a lot of commonalities, and especially like I spoke about the passion and the desire for craftsmanship and the producers that I've met. Not every single grower has the exact same business plan or desire for their business. There are growers who, for one reason, maybe coffee is just an accessory crop for some growers, or it's not a good time for them to make the investment in equipment necessary to level up. Like there are reasons why an individual grower would not push for the absolute maximum quality. And so for some of those growers, selling at the commodity price might be a viable option. If I'm a bean farmer in Guatemala and in between crops, I can make a little bit of money on the side easily growing some coffee. There are situations where things like that work.
No, it makes sense because, again, we're all trying to pierce the veil and see what is really happening on the other end, or we won't understand the blessing. I mean, a good cup of coffee is great, but we won't understand the impact of what you, as the coffee director, or should we call you Mr. Coffee, is sorry, that was really bad. But, we won't understand the full impact. We'll get some of it. But this is really, to me, it's very, very helpful and very fascinating.
The whole world of coffee origin is very complex. And, I don't want people to get lost in the complexity of the details, but I do want to at least bring enough of that complexity that people understand that it's there. I think one of the big challenges in coffee is that coffee is ubiquitous in U.S. In the United States, coffee is everywhere. And for the most part, we just take it for granted. And honestly, the people who are growing it, and not just growing it, but the people who are working in the factories that prepare it for export and are exporting it, there's an entire industry of people throughout the third world that are growing this coffee and exporting it. And they're basically invisible to all of us who are drinking it. Coffee is a huge industry. Just in the United States, it's over $80 billion with a B, but well under 10% of that income makes it to the farmers who are growing the coffee. And really, the further upstream we go in the supply chain, the smaller the percentage of revenue is. And really, that's one of the major things that we came to understand and gave us this important mission around direct trade coffee. The fact that coffee is an $80 billion industry in the United States, that means that coffee is a huge lever, right? If we are able to channel some of that $80 billion towards direct trade and towards water filters for discipleship, and there's a huge amount of potential in there because of the market demand for coffee. But one of the big challenges is that because coffee is everywhere and because so many people just take it for granted, the consumer's expectation of price doesn't really support the kind of coffee that we're trying to achieve through our direct trade model. So as the director of coffee, I often find myself the coffee evangelist, the coffee quality evangelist.
Yeah.
It's really shocking how many people I will make a cup of coffee and serve it to them, and it will be the first good cup of coffee they've had in their life. It happens frequently. People, they've worked in different office buildings at different companies. They've gone to different churches. They've been in situations where there was coffee provided, and they have taken what was on offer, and they haven't really liked it, but they drank it because they needed the caffeine that day, or for various reasons. but they've never really had an experience where someone served them a high quality product or took the time to make sure that it was prepared really well.
And to me, from a business perspective, not a business as mission perspective, but just the business people, having traveled to Colombia and had the same experience, a guy buying local coffee, meticulously making me a beautiful cup of coffee. It's like, I've had coffee all over the world. This is the best by far cup of coffee I'd ever tasted. And it just goes to show what's possible. And we'll do a whole nother episode on the quality of coffee for sure, because to me, that's like, hey, this is the best cup of coffee you've ever had in your life. And most people are going to look at this and go, oh yeah, whatever. It's true. This is no brag, just fact, as Walter Brennan used to say. This is real. So, Mike, a couple of thoughts, and we'll start coming in for a wrap up here because we would be able to go forever. You mentioned to me last week that the majority of your customers are what we might call institutional, meaning office buildings or companies with a large presence in an office building. They're buying for the office. They're buying in bulk. Churches is another good example, maybe hospitals. And there's a market for individuals to buy a bag or 10 bags or whatever, but the bulk of it is the more, maybe institutional, not the right word, but I think our listeners will know what I'm talking about. How would this is one question with two answers, maybe the same answer. How would an individual and or a office building facilities manager or a co-working space manager or a church, whoever the person is, the church, the secretary of the church or whatever, how would they go about buying this? Because they're not in the store. They can't go down to the local Kroger or the, whatever and find this on the shelf. So how do they get it? And I'm going to assume, but last time I did that, I got in real trouble. I'm going to assume it's through your website. But if I want some, I'm sitting right now in a beautiful co-working space in Asheville, North Carolina called Hatch Co-working. And if I can present this to the managers here, where do they go to get it? That's a long setup for maybe a simple question.
Yes. You assume correctly. It is available on our website. The website is buycoffeegivewater.com. You can also get there from the main Serve Hope website, which is servehope.international. Can also email me directly.
Give me the direct one again, because I didn't have that one, and I want to make sure we do.
Buycoffeegivewater.com. BUYGIVE or BUYCOFFEEGIVE.WATER.
Givewater.com. All right, this will be in the show notes. That's great to know right there, because some people can get this to the other, Serve Hope International, servehope.international, but the buycoffeegivewater.com is probably simpler. So, okay, that's exactly. Good. All right.
Exactly. Anyone can go directly to the buycoffeegivewater.com website and order coffee in any package size. So we have 12 ounce or 5 pound, whole bean or ground, and we have K-cups available, all on the website. Also, there are contact forms on the website if you would like to discuss a direct wholesale setup with us for your office or for your church. We do offer fully managed service as well. So it's very common in offices throughout the U.S. for the coffee provider to also provide equipment and service and other service items like cups or sweeteners. The short answer is that we can provide anything that any customer requires for their coffee service. When we do provide equipment, we take great care to make sure that we maximize the quality of our coffee in the cup.
So, all right, and and what is the brand? We haven't even talked about that. What am I looking for?
Well, so we've branded the coffee with our mission: buy coffee, give water. So you can find us.
So that is the brand name.
Yes, sir. So we're on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everywhere. Buy coffee, give water. That is our handle.
Fantastic. Oh man, I'm telling you, I just had a cup of coffee before we started this interview, and it was not what you described. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It just makes me wonder, what could I be having? So, all right. So, Mike, we have this is an amazing. Let's see if we can recap this. So we've got disciple making in Central America. That's the thrust of the entire operation. There is a water filtration program within that builds relationships and serves national families and individuals just based on that need, for their health, and then to open doors for evangelism, disciple making, and ultimately, the fruit of disciple making is new churches. So there's that. And then there's the coffee business, which again has a multiple blessing, right? One is it helps fund the coffee filters for people. Second, it blesses the coffee producers for a better price and a chance to maybe live out their dream to be premier coffee growers. Cuts out layers, not a layer, cuts out layers of middlemen and the direct trade model to go straight from producer to roaster, and then from the roaster to the customer. And then the last blessing in the chain is that the user, the customer, gets a great cup of coffee, as you say, maybe the best cup of coffee he or she has ever had in their life. So this is I use the term turnkey. It's like from soup to nuts. You guys got it figured out. Is that an accurate summary of what you are doing?
Yes, Mike. That's a fantastic summary. Thank you for breaking it down so concisely in order like that.
I have to. For me, I'm not a real detailed person, but I love where this is going. All right, last question, and then we'll call it a day, but we'll come back. We want to keep up with what's going on with buycoffeegivewater.com, the business, all of the Serve Hope International work. You got your choice of anything you want to say to our audience. Last word of this particular episode. What do you want to say?
I think there are two things I want to jump back to. I want to jump back on the water filter for a minute, and then I want to flesh out a little bit more on the coffee side. One of the very best parts of this water filter solution is that not only is it an incredibly strong solution to the recipient family's water problem, but it's immediate. For every family that receives one of these water filters, there's no build-up period. They go from 0% clean water to 100% clean water immediately. There's no infrastructure.
Beautiful.
So it's a long-lasting and it's a robust solution, and it's immediate.
That's beautiful.
It's incredible. It's incredible, and it's such a powerful evangelism tool, discipleship tool. When a pastor goes to knock on the door, the family isn't always interested in talking in a traditional evangelism model. The family might not always be interested in talking with their local pastor, but when the pastor can come in and say, "Hey, I'm here to make sure your water filter is still working properly," the door is open, right? Mm-hmm. So our pastors will spend a few minutes making sure that the water filter is working properly and that the family is cleaning it properly. But then they have 30, 40, 50 minutes to deepen that relationship and to pray with the family. It's a powerful tool. On the coffee side, as I indicated before, the way that the coffee funds the water filters, it's essentially a 5-to-1 ratio. For individuals buying coffee in their home, 5 bags of coffee or 5 boxes of K-cups gives away a water filter. For an office or a church, it's 5 pounds of coffee gives away a water filter. We have offices and churches, just based on their normal coffee consumption every month, they're giving away anywhere from 1 for a small office or a small church. Maybe it's just 1 a month, but we have others that are doing 8, 12, 20 water filters a month, or even more. We're actively pursuing businesses of 500 employees or more, and offices of that size would be able to fund dozens of water filters every month. Our mission in the next 18 months is to sell 5,000 pounds of coffee so that we can fund at least 5,000 water filters because over 26 million people in Honduras and Guatemala are living with dangerous water.
Oh, Mike, thank you, man. This is it's a lot to get our minds wrapped around. Let's say kind of the summation makes sense. It's blessed to be a blessing multiple times, but the details behind it, the way this works, the way you guys have taken a need and a technology and an opportunity that hits so many different pieces of their lives, all in the name of Christ, and to open doors for the gospel and disciple making and encouragement of the saints. This is wonderful. I would love to be able to someday sit down. I know you've had a lot to do with this. I'd love to sit down with you and the founder and just kind of, just over a cup of coffee, maybe, be able to just hear more of how God gave you this vision and just what's happening with it. So, Mike, first of all, thanks for being with us. Mike Turner, Serve Hope International, buycoffeegivewater.com. Guys, check it out. I'm literally, my wife's an innkeeper. I'm going to see if I can, without taking over her business, I'm going to see if I can get her to start serving the Buy Coffee, Give Water brand and see where that goes. But I just love this, man. Thank you so much for being with us and for joining me on this particular episode.
Mike, thank you so very much for having me. It's been a true pleasure to get to know you more and to talk with you. Thank you so much for sharing your platform. And this is such a critical mission, and we value your partnership. Just thank you very, very much for helping us to talk about what God is doing with water filters and the entire Serve Hope team and with our coffee.
Fantastic. My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Business as Mission podcast. For more information, go to thirdpathinitiative.com or tryventure.com. Please share this podcast and give us a review wherever you listen.